everybody. So this demo is going to go through how to do a little glitch animation in Procreate. First thing you want to do is kind of create an image that you can use for your logo. And so what I would kind of suggest is picking some object or something that you like. So if you like shoes, maybe you have a shoe as the base design. If you like certain animal, breaking that down. And I would do something very simplistic. Maybe find an image online, break it down, trace it. So for myself, what I did was I followed a tutorial for another class where I did this portrait right here. And what I ended up doing was, as I was kind of drawing this, I was like, oh, you know what? I kind of like some of the things that are going on there. And so what I ended up doing was kind of taking away the layers that I didn't need and simplifying this and just making this into just the basic outline of my hair and beard and mustache and stuff. So this is what I ended up with. All right. And so what we're going to be doing today is making something that looks like this little animation right here. All right. Nothing crazy, but again, kind of looks cool, and it's really simple and really easy to do in Procreate. So again, the first thing you're going to need is some kind of a logo. And so again, that could be anything. I would pick something of interest for yourself, and then maybe pick like a name or something you want to associate with that, and kind of align that in the design somewhere. For myself, okay, I've already kind of done everything here. So I have a couple of groups here, but in this grouping, I have just these little symbols. I have my just really simple graphic image of myself, and then some text that I drew out. And so I was going to go through just how I would maybe plan out my text. So I'm going to go to this just group, make a new layer. Now, the set of brushes that I like to use if I'm just kind of playing around with maybe like a handwritten text style, I would go into calligraphy. Okay, there's a lot of different options in here. You could kind of play around with, say, some of the settings in here, like the streamline, okay, to get different looks. So for this one is called streaks. So we'll go in. I'm just going to test this one out, see what I can do. So I just have a white. And this one's kind of cool. It has like a little bit of like a little bit of a texture to it too. You can see I'm having like a little bit of trouble there just getting my C to actually write. But something real simple. Maybe include some text in there, okay? So that one actually looks pretty good. The other one that I was using earlier, and I'll go ahead and just make another layer so we can kind of see this, and I'll turn off my old one. The other one that I was doing was for Odeon. And so this one's kind of interesting because it places a couple different colors down as you draw. So you could play around. You could change your settings on this brush to kind of just make it a little bit easier to use. You can have text overlap. All right, so there it is. And then what I ended up doing for this one was I went and just put an alpha lock on that layer so that the only thing that's going to take color is that text on that layer. And I just went in with a white brush. Now I switched mine to airbrushing and bumped it up real big and just went over it. So now all that one color's out, and I just have a really simple white text, hand-drawn logo or text down there. So looking pretty good. I'm happy with where I'm at. Again, we can go in and move stuff around if I want to play around with placement of that. Same thing with my logo. Say I just want to kind of play around on what looks best. Okay, this might look better if I move all this up. Okay, let's go ahead and rescale some things, place it up there. We'll go and we'll move our text up. All right, so that looks pretty good. Now what's important here is everything right now is in a group. So if you just drew your layers as separate little entities, I'm going to recommend that you swipe and go and hit group to group those. Once you do one group, I would suggest making another just as a backup. So we're going to go ahead and swipe. We're going to swipe and duplicate that group, right, just to have as like a backup plan. I'm going to turn it off. Down at the bottom now, okay, we're going to have this kind of image pop up maybe, or some parts of it pop up. And so what I'm going to say is, all right, at the beginning of my animation, I don't want anything to be on there except for just my face logo, all right? So that's where I'm at right now. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate just that image of myself. I'm going to move that up, okay? And so what I have right now is my backup layer up on top. I have just my face, and then a group that has my face in it with everything else turned off. So the reason I did that is that first layer, I want to have that layer actually remain for a little bit. So I'm going to tap, and I'm going to say, all right, I want this to be hold down to my frames. I want to hold duration, so I'm going to bump this up a little bit. All right. By the way, if you're new to the animation process in Procreate, we did already do a couple tutorials with this, but if you go up to your wrench at the top left of your canvas, and you go to canvas, you're going to turn on animation assist, and that'll give us our frames down below. So Again, I just have that one layer where it's just my face, and so I'm going to tap on that, and I'm going to say hold duration. We're going to change that a little bit. So that looks good, all right? And now I'm going to go to my second frame, which is this one, which is outside. So what's going to happen now is my face is going to pause. I'm going to switch to another frame, and that frame is going to be my face kind of glitching out. So how do we do this? All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that new layer, and I'm actually going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to maybe rename this thing. This one's going to be layer 2, even though there's a group below it, but I'm saying this is my new one, so I'm going to go ahead and say duplicate. All right, I'm going to keep duplicating this until I have about 10 different versions of just my face. All right, so we have all of our images of ourselves or our logo kind of duplicated here. I have 10 of them total. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the second one, which is above my group. And I'm going to go up to my adjustments. I'm going to go down to glitch. I'm going to go to layer. Now, what's important here is that my alpha lock is not on this layer, so I should check that before I even do anything. It's not. If it's on, it's not going to glitch right. So you want to make sure that if you're doing any glitch work, you want to have that alpha lock off on that layer. Okay, so from here, again, I'm going to go to my adjustments. I'm going to go down to glitch. I'm going to go to layer. Now you can see you have different settings here, right? So for instance, artifact, and I just click on my screen, you can see it kind of creates these little blocks there. Okay, I can mess with the block size, right? I can mess with my zoom, right? So there's some different settings there. Okay, let's go to wave. Okay, wave, what's that going to do? Let's see here. I might bump the amplitude up. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we get some little weird effects from that. Okay, so that's kind of a cool effect. I'm going to go to signal, maybe mess with block size again. Okay, and then here's a different setting. So you could just go into one of these. You don't need to use like all of them, but kind of figure out which one you think looks best for your particular animation. All right, so that looks good. And just kind of play around, okay, again. So next thing, I'm going to go to my next frame or my next layer above, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go up, go to glitch, go to layer, and I'll maybe click on signal, and I'm just going to go ahead and mess with this, right? That looks good. I'm going to keep rolling, and I'm just going to keep doing this to every single layer, doing a different glitch technique or slightly different effect on it. Pretty good. All right, so go ahead and keep going. I'm just going to time lapse this part. All right, so this is looking pretty good, and I'm going to go ahead and just take a look and see what this looks like. So I'm going to click off of everything. I'm going to go ahead and hit play. And so what we're going to see is my face at the beginning is just in its logo form, and then after that it starts glitching out. So each frame has a different kind of like little glitch effect to it, so it looks like it's changing over time. And we could do this for longer frames, but I think this looks really good, so I'm going to keep going. All right. Now the other thing I was kind of thinking is, you know what, I want a background to this, just more, maybe slightly more than just the teal or the color background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my layers, go all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to put a new layer in. And this layer, we need to move all the way to the bottom, okay? It needs to be just above the background layer. So for this, we're gonna put like a little glow to the background. And how I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get just maybe a white or some other color. I'm gonna go with airbrushing, and I'm gonna go to my soft airbrush, and I'm just gonna kind of put like a little circle out in the middle on that layer. And then I'm gonna use another effect here. I'm gonna say we want Gaussian blur. Go to my layer, and I'm just gonna blur that, okay? So that it's there, it's the white, the glow is there, but it's just a little bit different, kind of softer. And now I'm going to go to my layers, and you can see that this one is in the bottom. That's important. This will not work if you don't do that. So layer 18 right there needs to be on the bottom. Okay, but frame, you can see that this one now has the option, which is the first frame, because it's the bottom one. I can make this my background. So I'm going to make that my background. So now that will show the entire time. Now, if I don't like the look of that, maybe I want this to be slightly more transparent or what have you, I can go ahead and play with that, but at least it has like an extra little something, kind of glow to it, right? Going on from here, let's go ahead in, and so I've kind of finished up the glitch part, and now what I want to have happen is I want my text and my imagery in the background to show up. Okay, now I could do this where I erase it over time or do something else creative, but right now I'm just going to have this fade in. So how we're going to do this is we're going to go in and I'm going to take this group, which is up top. This is my duplicate group. Okay, I'm going to turn everything on for that group. And so that's going to be my most recent layer, but it's going to start with, let's say, nothing showing. Okay. So I'm going to my N and I'm turning on the opacity. There we go. All right, and okay, so that'll be one, and that'll just be a frame, and maybe that frame stays for a couple seconds. So we're going to click on it, and we'll hold duration for that one for 3, and then gradually we're going to have this duplicate. And on this one, we're going to bump up the opacity on my text, just real subtle, and on these little symbols that I put in there. Okay, and I'm just going to keep replicating that. Now, if you need to save layers, you can pinch together layers. So for instance, like once you know something's done, you can go ahead and pinch to shrink the file size, because at some point you might run out of space here in terms of the number of layers. Be careful, because you don't want to do that before you've made duplicates. So now I'm just going to go ahead and slide duplicate, and I'm going to go ahead to N and just bump that up a little bit. Okay, go back to my symbol here, bump that up a little bit. Looking good. Okay, swipe, duplicate the group. Okay, go to my new group, hit N, I'm going to bump that up even more. Hit N, I'm going to bump that up even more. And maybe we have one more of these. So I'm going to go in, and now this will be at 100% for the text, 100% in for my symbols. Okay, and I want that to freeze frame at that point. Okay, so right here it added some hold duration, so I want to be careful of that. So I'm going back and dropping those back down. Let's see. Okay, so this looks good. So what happens is my animation starts with just my face. It freezes for a second, then it starts playing the glitch for 10 frames. Then it goes back to the normal, and then over time, my logo is going to fade in. Now, say I want to do something else kind of creative here. Maybe I'll go and let's go ahead. I'm going to duplicate this group. I'm going to pinch that together. I'm actually just going to take it out of the group now, because I'm going to conserve some layers here and just get rid of it. And so maybe I'll have like this glitch out real quick too, just the whole thing, just for kind of like, you know, a finishing kind of visual effect there. So boom. Duplicate this one, and we'll have it glitch out one more time. All right, that looks good. Let's go ahead and hit play. All right. And so again, some things I might want to adjust here. Maybe I want my text to be on screen just a little bit longer, so I could go back to that frame where the text fully forms, and I could say, all right, this hold the duration on that one for a little bit. All right, and let's go ahead and play again. And I think this will look pretty good. All right, there's a nice little text animation or logo animation with some text just transitioning in through opacity. And so we are good to go. We're going to go ahead and export this. I'm going to go up to my wrench. I'm going to go down to share, and I'm going to go and probably save it as an MP4. If you want it to be on loop and use it for a website or something, you can go to animated GIF, export, and then save this to your files. Okay, we're going to say save to files. I might retitle this. Logo beard, hit done. I'm going to hit save, and that is it. And so now this can be posted to Schoology, posted to Google, or used on your YouTube site or some kind of social media thing. So there it is.